This is a game made by a 15-year-old. The only thing I was making at that age was terrible social choices, so well done, kid. To be young again and free from the knowledge of all the horrors that adult life brings. But here is a young'un making horror games for Steam, which immediately brought on my first jump scare from the thought that they may have achieved more creatively as a child than I have at nearly 40 years old. This is Stories to Tell Greyville Stay, which is an atmospheric walking simulator in a creepy setting type game. It's available for free on Steam and it caught my attention due to its developer's young age. Zebax is a solo 15-year-old Spanish game developer who I was astonished to discover has now released 5 games dating back to 2023. He has been making a game series based on dreams or nightmares he has had. In Greyville Stay, you are staying in a remote house in the middle of a forest. The story is told in the form of typed text as a narrative to guide you through the dream. After finding the house key, your first task is to take out the trash, and on your way out again, this guy jump scares you at the doorstep. He claims to be an undercover detective, but doesn't show any credentials to back this up, and he just stares at you with cold, dead eyes. The graphics of his checked shirt looks like an homage to Stan from Monkey Island. Very creepy guy, but he seems helpful enough in letting you know that there's an escaped prisoner on the loose in the area. You take the trash to the wheelie bin and then use the toilet and then head upstairs to do some homework. You hear noises in the middle of the night and apparently have to go and check it out, despite that obviously being a terrible idea. I think there was something in the bathroom here if I'd gone outside to look through the window, but I shut the front door and couldn't open it again. Later, the generator fails, meaning you have to grab some fuel and take it outside to get it started again. That's where Detective Creepyface jump scares you again for no good reason other than to remind you that a scary man, besides him of course, is still at large and that you shouldn't be out here. Your character's next bad decision comes at 3:30 AM when you hear a noise from the portable toilet outside and you go and see what all the fuss is about. You find a man in a yellow jacket who is very apologetic for someone who just had his middle of the night poo interrupted. He assures you that there's nothing to see here really, just a totally normal guy doing totally normal things. You decide not to act on informing the police that there's a dodgy guy acting suspiciously while a criminal is on the loose in the area and go back to sleep again. You wake up again an hour later to noise in the room next to you. You try to get out of the house, but the front door is locked. If you go near the other room's door, then Yellow Jacket Man jumps out and stabs you, and this is what the creator calls the true ending of this very brief game. It ends with a nice message from the young game developer, and this was certainly a charming gaming experience. I'm going to be honest and say that there was a lot to be worked on here. The exploration could be enhanced by not being guided too heavily by the narration. For example, by saying the key is hidden around the house somewhere, or saying the noise was from outside without being too specific. Things like this would add to the challenge of the explorative parts of the game. I like the idea of basing the game on strange dreams, but maybe the story could be expanded a bit, perhaps making the reasons for the player character going out in the dead of night to be more desperate and necessary. The detective popping up out of nowhere felt like a bit of a cheap way of getting a false scare. Maybe if he was just waiting behind the door or around the corner, it might have been more organic feeling. Him just teleporting in breaks the immersion and reminds the player that this is a game too much. That immersion is important because this game does have a genuinely good atmosphere, and I really felt the tension as I was looking around. The setting and story are classic horror story tropes, but it works very well. I hope you see this, Zebax, because I would like to tell you personally what a talented young man I think you are. My oldest son is just around a year younger and is very interested in creating, and I'll be sure to show him this work as an example of the kind of great things that young people can create with the right kind of discipline and mindset. Keep going and you have a great future ahead of you. This is Stories to Tell, Greyville Stay. and I have a feeling there'll be many more stories to be told from this creator.